In this lecture, we are going to study how to calculate the oxidation state and coordination number for a given coordination compound. So, here is the periodic table, and whenever you have these elements in a coordination compound, suppose if you have an element belonging to the group 1, that is sodium or potassium, you need to substitute the charge of +1. If you have an element belonging to the group 2 like calcium or magnesium, then you need to substitute the value of +2. Then if it is a group 3 like aluminium, it is +3. If it is carbon or group 14 element, then you need to substitute the charge as +4. And if it is group 15, then you will substitute it by -3. This is according to octet. Then if it is a group 16 element like oxygen, etc., then you need to substitute by -2. If any halogen is available or seen in a coordination compound, then you need to substitute it by -1. So here are the charges you need to substitute if these elements are present in your particular coordination compound. So now we'll just calculate the oxidation state and coordination number of the following. So I have given you an example K2 PdCl4. So you are going to substitute by, see, there are two potassiums. So 2 into charge of potassium is +1. I have already told in the last slide. Plus, and you need to find the oxidation state of palladium. This is inside the coordination sphere. So this you will mention it as X. Okay. Then plus 4 into, there are 4 chlorines and each charge of chlorine is -1. That is equal to 0. So just substitute it. So 2 into +1 is 2 plus X plus into -1 is -4 is equal to 0. Then X is equal to, if this -4 goes the other side, it is +4. If this 2 goes the other side, it is -2. So X is equal to 2. So your palladium is in +2 oxidation state. So you will represent either palladium 2 plus or palladium. If you are naming the compound, then you will represent them in Roman numerals and inside the braces. So this is how to calculate the oxidation state and coordination number. So how you will, this is the oxidation state, then how you will calculate the coordination number? Coordination number is number of ligands which are directly coordinated to the central metal. So to the palladium, the number of donor atoms that are attached are 4 in number, and each of the chlorine is monodentate ligand. So chlorines are monodentate, so coordination number is equal to, mono means single, so 1 into how many chlorines are there? There are 4. So that is equal to 4. So the coordination number is 4. Oxidation state is 2 for this particular complex. We'll go to next example. Here you have a complex given as Pt NH3 taken twice Cl2. So calculation of oxidation state. So platinum oxidation state we need to find out. So that is X plus 2 into charge of ammonia is 0. This is a neutral ligand. This you need to understand from the last lecture which was given on types of ligands. Then plus 2 into charge on each chloride is -1. So -1 equal to 0. So X plus 0 minus 2 is equal to 0. So if this plus -2 goes the other side, it will be +2. So X is equal to +2. So your platinum oxidation state is 2. So platinum oxidation state is 2. Now coming to coordination number, if you can see here in the example, you have ammonia ligand and you have chloride ligand. Both are monodentate ligands. Okay, so monodentate means 1 into, because there are 2 ammonia. So 1 into 2, you then plus, you just keep these in braces in order to avoid confusion. So then you have 2 chlorines. So 1 monodentate, into 2 chlorines. So 1 into 2 is 2 plus 2. So totally there are 4, coordination number is 4. So there are totally 4 donor atoms which gives electrons to platinum. So oxidation state is +2 and coordination number is +4. Then you have the next example. You have K2 NiCN taken 4 times. Now oxidation state of nickel you need to find out. So potassium is 2. There are 2 potassiums. So 2 into 1 plus nickel oxidation state you need to find out. So that is X plus 4 into Cn minus. Cyanide will carry a charge of -1. So -1 is equal to 0. So 2 plus X into -4 is equal to 0. So x is equal to, you take this -4 to the other side, so +4, and 2 to the other side, so -2. So x is equal to 4 minus 2 is 2. So nickel is in +2 oxidation state. Now coming to coordination number, there are 4 cyanide ligands which are attached to the nickel central metal. So, and each of the cyanide is a monodentite ligands. So, mono means 1. So, 1 into, because there are 4 ligands present, into 4. So, coordination number is 4. Coming to next example, you have PT NH3 taken 6 times 4 plus. So, you need to find out the oxidation state of platinum. So just platinum, you keep it as X, plus there are 6 ammonia ligands, 6 into, and charge carried by ammonia is 0 because it is a neutral ligand. 0 is equal to +4. This is because the coordination sphere is carrying a charge of +4. That's why it is equated to +4. So X is equal to +4. So because this 6 into 0 is 0. So platinum is in +4 oxidation state. So next you need to find out the coordination number. Coordination number in this case is, ammonia is a monodentite ligand. So 1 into, because there are 6 ammonia into 6. So the coordination number is 6 in Next, going to next example. Here is an example where it looks very complicated, but you can solve it with the same method as explained earlier. So you need to find out the oxidation state of cobalt. So X plus, but if you can see, this whole coordination sphere is taken twice. So that's why you will mention 2x. Okay, 2x plus, and there are 6 ammonia ligands here, and the whole coordination sphere is taken twice. So 6 into 2 is 12. So there are 12 ammonia ligands in total, and the charge of each ammonia ligand carried is 0. Okay, then plus there are 3 sulfate ions. So 3 into, charge carried by each sulfate ion is -2. This you will know if you go through the earlier lecture on ligands, is equal to 0. So 2x, 12 into 0 is 0. So I'm not writing that. So 3 into -2 is -6 is equal to 0. So 2x is equal to, if you take this -6 the other side, it will be 6, and x is equal to 6 divided by 2. If multiplication goes the other side, it will be divided by, so that is equal to 3. So the total oxidation state of cobalt is +3 in this particular complex. So then coming to coordination number, for coordination is nothing, number is nothing but the number of ligands that are surrounded by the surrounding the central metal ion. So it is the actual number of donor atoms that are donating the electrons to the cobalt in this particular case. So you have only monodentate ligands. Ammonia is a monodentate, so 1 into, and each of the cobalt metal is having 6 ammonia ligands. So into 6. So total coordination number is 6. So oxidation state of this particular complex is +3 and coordination number is 6. Now using the same method, you try to find out the oxidation state and coordination number of this particular complex and write in the comment section given below. In this lecture, we are going to solve few examples based on the nomenclature of coordination compounds. So the first compound given is NaAuCN taken twice. So first you need to go through the rules of nomenclature. What are the rules suggested by IUPAC in naming these coordination compounds? Then according to the rules of IUPAC, the cation should be named first and then go to the anion, and all the ligands should be ordered named with respect to alphabetical order. So here is the cation, which is sodium, and your coordination compound, which is in coordination sphere part, is in the anionic form. So cation is your sodium. So start with sodium, because naming should always be started with the cationic form. Then you have inside the coordination sphere, you have two cyanide groups. So 2 means di, we use di as the prefix. Then Cn minus, whenever you have Cn, you will name it as cyano. So this is cyano. Then you have gold as the metal. Gold has Latin name as aurum. So you will use aurate, because ate is ended, because it is in anionic form. Your coordination sphere is in anionic form, that's why the name ended with ate. Then find out the oxidation state of gold using the earlier exercise and then place that in Roman numerals. The oxidation state of gold here is +1, that's why I have written in Roman numerals in the braces. So the next example is PT, NH3 taken twice, H2O taken twice, NC taken twice. So this is inside the coordination braces. Then you have platinum as the central metal. Then you see there are three different types of ligands present. One is ammonia, the other one is water, H2O. Then you have cyanide, NC. And in this case, this is an ambidentate ligand and it is binded with the nitrogen as a central atom. Then first you need to name your ligands. Okay, so you have ammonia, then you have water, and you have an ambidentate cyanide ligand. So first you will name as diamine, because there are two ammonia molecules. That's why the prefix has come di. And ammonia, you will name it as amine. Whenever you are naming a ammonia ligand, you will name it as amine, diamine. Then you have two water molecules, so di aqua. Am comes first in alphabetical order, that's why amine has come first, then aqua. Then you have two cyanide ligands, so di, because it is bonded with nitrogen as the atomic center, you need to mention it as diisocyano. This you can refer in the ambidentate ligand. The example was given. Dicyano. N you need to mention because N is the atom through which it is bonded to platinum. So then you have platinum, platinum, and mention the oxidation state inside the braces. So oxidation state is 2 in this particular complex. So it is totally diamine, diaqua, diisocyano N, platinum 2. So in this one there is no charge present. Okay, that's why we named like this. In case of cation and anion, you will name cation first and then go to anion. So the next example is CO, En taken thrice. This is inside the coordination sphere, and you have ClO4 taken thrice. This is perchloride anion. perchlorate anion. So this is outside the coordination sphere. So in this case, this is the anionic part, this is the cationic part. So cationic part has to be named first. So and what kind of ligand is the en ethylene diamine? Ethylene diamine is a polydentate ligand. So whenever there are polydentate ligands, you need to name using them as prefixes as bis, tris, tetrakis, etc. So how many number of ethylene diamine ligands are there? There are three. So the term comes tris. This is the prefix tris, and inside the bracket you write ethylene diamine, because En is nothing but ethylene diamine. So sorry, ethylene diamine, ethylene diamine, Di, ethylene diamine, and close the bracket. Then you have cobalt metal. So cobalt, because first you need to mention and name the entire cationic part. So tris ethylene diamine, cobalt. Find out the oxidation state of this particular complex. So you will get it as +3. Then close it. Then you have anion as perchlorate. So mention it as perchlorate. So the entire name goes as tris-ethylene diamine cobalt 3 perchlorate. This is the total name of this particular complex. Then coming to next example, you have Na2Fe Cn taken 5 times NO. So this is the cationic part and this is the anionic part. So cation you will start with. So this is sodium. So sodium. And coming to anionic part, if you can see, you have 5 cyanide groups and 1 nitrosonium group. This is NO plus. If you go back to the types of ligands, in the positive types of ligands, you will observe that NO plus is nitrosonium ion. So then you have 5 cyanide. So 5 means penta. So use prefix penta. Cyanide ligand, you will name it as cyano. So pentacyano. Then you have nitrosonium. So C comes first, that's why pentacyano. Then nitrosonium, nitrosonium, and the metal present is in its anionic form. That's why it is ferrate. Iron in its Latin name is ferrate. It ended with ate because it is in anionic form. Then find out the oxidation state of iron. It is +2. So that you write in the braces. So the total complete name of this particular complex is sodium pentacyano nitrosonium ferrate 2. Coming to next example. In this particular example, you have NH3 taken thrice, NH4 taken thrice, SbOx taken thrice. So NH4 is ammonium. NH4 plus, if you remember, that is ammonium. This is ammonium ion, that is a cationic part, and obviously your coordination sphere part will be anionic part. So first you will name the cationic part and then go for anionic part. And if you see, Sb means antimony element, OX is oxalate ligand. So you know the element present and the ligand present, and oxalate is a didentate ligand. So first cationic part you will name. So this is ammonium. NH4 plus is known as ammonium. Then you have OX. This is the cationic part which is done. And coming to anionic part, OX is oxalato. Okay, negatively charged ligands always end with O. And positively charged ligands always end with IUM. Please remember that. So coming to this one, so you will use tris as the prefix because there are three ligands, oxalate, and this is a polydentate ligand. That's why it is word tris is being used. Tris oxalato, oxalato. Then you have, see, SB, its Latin name, antimony is Latin name is, so you will use antimonate, and in the bracket you will write the oxidation state, which is 3. So ammonium trisoxalato antimonate 3 is the complete name of this particular complex. Then going to next example, you have nickel GLY taken twice. So this is glycinate ligand and you have a nickel center. So glycinate is a polydentate ligand. So you will use prefix as bis because there are two glycinate ligands. So 2 bis. If there are 3, it is tris. If there are 4, it is tetrakris. So bis, then in the bracket you write glycinato, glycinato, and this is nickel. So nickel, and in bracket you write the oxidation state of the nickel, which is 2. So you need to calculate the oxidation state of the central metal ion every time, and then you write in the braces in Roman numerals. The next example is FeCO taken 5 times. So you have carbonyl as the ligand and iron as the metal center. So there are 5 carbonyls. So this is penta, this is P, penta, carbonyl, carbonyl, and you have iron. This is the central metal ion. Then in the bracket you will write the oxidation state, which is 0. Carbonyls will have an oxidation state of 0. In carbonyls the metal center will have an oxidation state of 0. Then coming to next example, this is H2PtCl6. So whenever you have hydrogen outside the coordination sphere, you please remember the rule that it has to end with IC, acid. The name should, metal name should end with IC, acid. You should remember this. This was one of the rule explained in the nomenclature. So coming to this example, you have 6 chloride ligands. There are 6 chloride ligands. So if you can see here, this is your anionic part and this is your cationic part. So cationic part should be named first. So you have 6 chloride ligands attached to platinum. So 6 means hexa. Hexa. For chloride, you will use chloro as the name. Hexachloro. Then the central metal is platinum. So platinic acid, IC. This is because hydrogen is outside. So for such complexes, you will end your metal name using IC acid. So platinic acid. And then you will write the oxidation state of platinum, and in this case oxidation state of platinum is +4. So whenever you have hydrogen outside the coordination sphere, in such cases your metal should be ended with IC acid. This is the suffix to be used. So the entire name of this particular compound is hexachloroplatinic acid, and in the bracket you will write the oxidation state of the metal, which is 4. So next, this is the example. You please write the name of this particular complex according to IUPAC rules and place them in the comment section. This lecture is based on Werner's theory and EAN calculation. EAN means effective atomic number. So starting with Werner's coordination theory. So in 1893, Alfred Werner was the one to propose the theory to explain the nature of metal complexes on the basis of their molar conductivities. So the experiments were conducted by Werner, and based on the molar conductivities, he could propose a theory that explained about the nature of metal complexes. So Alfred Werner were also called as father of coordination compounds. So coming to postulates of Werner's theory, the first postulate is the central metal atom or ion in a coordination compound exhibits two types of valencies. One is the primary valency and the other one is secondary valency. Primary valencies are those that are ionizable and correspond to the number of charges on the complex ion. It just means that primary valency is nothing but the oxidation state of the metal. Then secondary valences corresponds to the valencies that a metal atom or ion that exercises towards the neutral molecules or the negative ions in the formation of its complex ions. Secondary valency, in other words, is nothing but coordination number. So the secondary valences are directional in nature, and so a complex has a particular shape. The number and the arrangement of ligands in space determines the stereochemistry of the complex. So one thing we need to remember from the postulates of Werner's theory is primary valency, in other words, is the oxidation state, and the secondary valency, in other words, it is the coordination number in the co- complex. Then you have, to summarize, primary valences are ionizable and correspond to the number of charges on the complex ion, as I have told you before. And secondary valences are those which are the which is the coordination number around the central metal ion. So for example, I am considering here PtNH3 taken 6 times inside the coordination sphere, and you have Cl4 outside. So the primary valency is 4, because the oxid, if you calculate the oxidation state of the central metal, that is platinum in this case, it comes out to be 4. So the primary valency is 4, and the secondary valency, which happens to be the coordination number, it is 6, because there are 6 ammonia ligands that are coordinated directly to platinum central metal. So here in on the right side, you can see there are 4 structures. First one is CONH3 taken 6 times, and outside the coordination sphere you have 3 chloride ions. So these 3 chloride ligands are the ionizable species, and this coordination sphere is a single entity. If you move to the second structure, you have 2 ionizable chloride ions. If you move at the third one, you have one chloride ion which is ionizable. In the fourth one, you do not have any ionizable ions. So the same thing is expressed in the form of equations. So the complex one, as you can see here, there are three chloride ligands which can be ionizable. If you see that one here, in this complex, the secondary valency satisfied by 6 ammonia ligands, because there are 6 ammonia ligands, and the secondary valence is nothing but the coordination number. So there are 6 secondary valency, and there are 3 primary valency, because the oxidation state of cobalt is 3. So it is satisfied with 3 ligands, and all these 3 chloride ligands are ionizable in nature. Therefore when they dissociate in water, that is when they ionize, they will form CONH3 6 times 3 plus. This is single entity, and you have 3 chloride ligands. So there are totally 1 plus 3. There are totally 4 ions. It means that the molar conductivity or the conductivity number will be high in this case, because there are 4 ions present. When you move to second complex was the one you have CONH3 taken 5 times Cl, and outside the coordination sphere you have Cl2. When you ionize this, they will form CONH3 taken 5 times Cl2 plus is the charge on the coordination sphere, plus 2 Cl minus. So these two chloride ions which are ionized, they form 2Cl minus. So there are totally, this is a single entity, and there are two chloride ions, so there are totally 1 plus 2 3 ions. So complex 1 is having higher conductivity values compared to complex 2, because here you have 4 ions and here you have 3 ions. Next, coming to complex 3, here you have the complex CONH3 taken 4 times Cl2, and outside the coordination sphere you are having one Cl ligand, then plus water. It is, when it is ionized, you will get the ions as CONH3 taken 4 times Cl2 plus it is the charge on the coordination sphere, plus you have one chloride ion. So there are totally 1 plus 1. There are totally 2 ions. In the complex 4, where you have CONH3 taken thrice Cl3, you do not have any ionizable species outside the coordination sphere. So when this get dissociated or ionized, there are no ions formed. So there will be no conductivity. The value of conductivity in this complex will be 0. So coming from, starting from complex 1, you have 4 ions, so high conductivity. Complex 2, you have 3 ions, little less conductivity. Then when you have 2 ions, it is further less conductivity. And you, in the complex 4, when there is no ions present, there is no conductivity. In fact, the conductivity will be 0. So here is the experimental verification for the Werner's coordination theory. You have conductivity values for COCl3.6NH3, which were measured when these compounds were dissolved in water. So the first one is COCl3.6NH3. The conductivity is high because the number of chloride ions that are precipitated are 3. So remember the complex one where there are 3 Cl minus like ions have formed. So when the conductivity value is medium, it means that there are 2 chloride ions which are ionizable. So the formula will become COCH3 dot 5NH3. COCl3 dot 5NH3. So next one, when you have conductivity low, it means that the number of chloride ligand precipitated is only 1. Then the formula related to it is COCl3 dot 4NH3. If there is zero conductivity, I have given an example of iridium complex, that is IrCl3 dot 3NH3, where the number of chloride ligands precipitated is 0. So the conductivity value will be 0. So whenever the number of ions, chloride ions precipitated is directly proportional to the conductivity values. So this was proposed by the Werner's theory. So what are the drawbacks of Werner's theory? Werner's theory could not explain why certain elements form coordination compounds. It was the main drawback, where it could not explain why only certain elements form coordination compounds. And it also could not explain why the bonds in coordination compounds have directional property. So the shape of the molecule was not mentioned or could not be explained according to Werner's theory. And the third most drawback is it could not explain the color, the magnetic and the optical properties of the complexes. So these are the drawbacks of Werner's theory. Then next topic is Sidgwick's theory and EAN rule, effective atomic number rule. So Sidgwick was the scientist who suggested that the metal ion or the metal atom accepts electrons from the donor atoms, which are ligands in the coordination complexes, until the metal atom in the complex ion attains effective atomic number of the succeeding inert gas. So he suggested that a metal atom tries to accept electrons from the ligands until it attains effective atomic number. So the sum of electrons on the metal ion plus the electrons donated or received from the ligands is called the effective atomic number. So the complexes with which attain this effective atomic number will gain extra stability. So effective atomic number EAN will be calculated according to the formula as EAN is equal to Z minus X plus Y, where Z is the atomic number of the metal, X is the number of electrons lost during the formation of the metal ion from its atom. It is nothing but oxidation state, in other words, plus y is the number of electrons donated by the ligands. So here is an example stating FeCN6 and the charge present is 4 minus. Then Fe iron oxidation state is plus 2 and iron atomic number is 26. So substitute using this formula. EAN is equal to Z is 26 minus 2x is the oxidation state 2 plus 6 is the number of ligands present and into 2 because each ligand is donating 2 electrons. So the total number of electrons donated by 6 cyanide ligands is 12. So when you substitute and calculate, you will get 36 as the number. 36 is a atomic number of krypton, which is a noble gas. So this particular complex FeCN6 4 minus has attained a noble gas atomic number, so it has attained effective atomic number. Therefore this particular complex is extra stable. So here is the table where there are complexes which are obeying the EAN rule. So you have the complexes here. These are the number of electrons on the metal ion. So it is basically nothing but Z minus X. Okay, Z is the atomic number and X is the oxidation state of the metal. So Z minus X is here and Y, the value of Y, that is the number of electrons from the ligands, is here. So the total value is of EAN is Z minus X plus Y, which is written here. For example, I am just writing here. So this is Z minus X plus Y. So Z minus X value is here and Y is here. So Z minus X atomic number minus oxidation state, which is equal to value given here, and this is Y. So the overall EAN values are given here. So there are complexes where they attain noble gas configurations as of krypton. Here this particular platinum complex attains radon atomic number, then the one with cadmium complex attaining a xenon atomic number. Then you have certain complexes given here which are not obeying the EAN rule. So Z minus X values are given over here and the Y value is given over here, and you are substituting Z minus X plus Y, the overall value. So this happens to, you will get a series of values where these are not related, not the inert gas atomic numbers. So these complexes are not obeying the EAN rule. So there are certain defects or Sidgwick's theory. So the first defect is a large number of coordination compounds do not obey the EAN rule. The next one is the electron pairs which are donated from the ligand to the central metal always accumulate a certain negative charge on the ion. So the this negative charge is improbable in nature. Then you have this theory could not explain or predict the type of metal orbitals involved in bonding. So bonding nature could not be explained by using this Sidgwick's theory. So these are the defects of Sidgwick's theory. The next lecture is valence bond theory. So in valence bond theory, we are going to study about bonding in coordination compounds. So Alfred Werner, as we have learned in Werner's theory, has described the bonding characteristics in coordination compounds. But that theory has failed to explain certain questions like why certain elements possess remarkable properties of forming compounds, and also it could not explain the directional property that is observed in the bonds of the coordination compounds, and it also could not explain the characteristic magnetic and optical properties. So many theories or approaches have been put forward so as to explain the bonding nature in coordination compounds. Like these theories, for example, are valence bond theory, VBT, crystal field theory, CFT, ligand field theory, LFT, and molecular orbital theory, MOT. So in this lecture, we are going to study about valence bond theory or VBT theory. So valence bond theory was extended to coordination compounds by Linus Pauling in the year 1931. So basically, VBT deals with a central atom in the complex makes available a number of empty orbitals for the formation of coordination bonds with suitable ligands. So the number of empty orbitals are being created around the central metal ion so that the ligands can approach the central metal ion to donate its pair of electrons. So mainly the number of coordinate empty orbitals made available for this purpose is equal to the coordination number of the central metal ion. So this model utilizes the hybridization of the metal. So hybridization can be possible among the orbitals n-1d, ns, np, this is one set, or ns, np and nd orbitals, this is the other set. So these are the two models hybridization sets which can be utilized by the metal. So these are trying to get equivalent orbitals. They have definite geometry to account for the observed structures such as octahedral, square planar, and tetrahedron. And these hybrid orbitals are allowed to overlap with the ligand orbitals that can donate electron pairs for bonding. So we have valence bond theory where we have applied this valence bond theory for simple molecules like water or ammonia. Like such molecules we have earlier applied, where we are going to see the shape of the molecules, like water has angular shape, etc. So in this valence bond theory, we are going to extend for the coordination compounds. So basically in valence bond theory, you will have an atomic set where orbitals like s, p and d gets involved. Then you have hybrid orbital set, and then you will see the resultant geometry of that particular hybrid orbital set. So suppose for example consider s and p. This is the orbitals atomic orbital set. Then when these two s and p hybridized, they form 2sp orbit hybrid orbital set. And when these two hybrid orbital set attain a molecular structure, so that structure will be linear in shape. Suppose the atomic orbital set is s and two p orbitals p and p, then totally there will be 3 sp2 hybrid orbital sets. So that results into an electronic geometry of trigonal planar. Similarly, when we go to atomic set consisting of 1 s orbital and 3 p orbitals, then the hybrid orbital set would be 4 sp3 orbitals. So the 4 sp3 orbitals would attain a geometric structure of tetrahedron. Then when it comes to involvement of d orbital, suppose you have one s orbital and three p orbitals and one d orbital, there are total of 5 hybrid orbital set of sp3 hybridization. Then you have the electronic geometry of trigonal bipyramidal. Then if the atomic orbital set consists of 1s, 3 p orbitals and 2 d orbitals, then total are 6 orbitals. So there will be 6 sp3d2 hybrid orbital set. So the electronic geometry would be octahedron. So we'll see the postulates of VBT theory. The central metal ion in the complex makes available number of empty orbitals equal to its coordination number. I have first explained this statement. So this statement just means that the central metal ion in the complex would make available number of empty orbitals so that ligands can approach and donate its pair of electrons. So the number of ligands that would approach or bond to the central metal ion would be equal to the available number of empty orbitals. That's what this statement means. Then the metal ion uses hybrid orbitals involving s, p and d orbitals for accepting electrons from ligands. So s, p and d orbitals have been utilized for this purpose. Then the d orbitals are of two types for hybridization. So one, you can use inner d orbitals, that is n minus 1 d orbitals, or outer orbitals, that is nd orbitals. So the orbitals, d orbitals that can be used are of two types. One is inner and the outer. Inner is n minus 1d and the outer is nd orbitals. Then each of the ligand has at least one orbital containing a lone pair of electrons. So a ligand which is going to approach to the metal center should have at least one lone pair of electrons. Then only it can donate to the metal center. Then the empty hybrid orbitals of metal ion overlap with the fully filled orbitals of the ligand to form the ligand metal coordinate bond. So the empty orbitals of the metal and the fully filled orbital of the ligand, they try to form a bond, and that is known as ligand metal coordinate bond. And after the bond formation with ligand, if metal atom carries unpaired electrons, then it shows paramagnetism. So here the paramagnetic nature of the complex can be seen if a metal ion carries an unpaired electron after the bond formation. So the paramagnetism can be evaluated using the formula mu is equal to root over n into n plus 2, where n is the number of unpaired electrons. Then for calculating the magnetic moment, if you have the number of unpaired electrons as 1, then your spin only magnetic moment. So mu is nothing but magnetic moment, and in this one we are only considering the unpaired electrons. So your magnetic moment will be only from spin contribution. So it is a spin only moment, and the unit of this magnetic moment is bm. Bm means Bohr magneton. Then if you have one unpaired electron, so you calculate root over, you substitute n as 1, so n into n plus 2. So your n value is 1 here, so 1 into 1 plus 2, and you calculate it with the value comes out to be 1.73. If the number of unpaired electrons are 2, one second, if the number of unpaired electrons is 2, so your n value is equal to 2. So you will calculate mu is equal to root over n into n plus 2. So you substitute the value of n as 2. So 2 into, as here it is shown, 2 into 2 plus 2. So wherever there is a value of n, you need to substitute the value of 2 for this particular one. Then use for n number of unpaired electrons as 3, then you substitute n value as 3 and you arrive at the spin only magnetic moment of this particular complex. So like that I have shown you for 5 unpaired electrons, and the 5 unpaired electrons you will have the spin only moment as 5.92. So then we have complex geometry can be linked to 5 main orbital hybridization process. So we have studied till now about hybridization and hybrid molecule, and you arrived at the geometry. Now you would see the correlation with the coordination number. If there is a coordination number as 2, then the geometry of that particular coordination compound would be linear in shape. If the coordination number is 4, it means that there are 4 ligands around the central metal ion. Then if the coordination number is 4. For coordination number 4, there are two geometries which are possible. One is tetrahedron, the other one is square planar. So whenever you have tetrahedral geometry, the hybrid orbitals involved are sp3 orbitals. Whenever you have coordination number as 4 and that is square planar, you will have hybridization as dsp2. Then coming to coordination number 6, whenever you have the coordination number 6, you have the geometry as octahedral. So octahedral geometry can exhibit two types of hybridizations. One is D2sp3 and the other one is sp3d2. So for coordination number 4, you have two different geometries. One is tetrahedron, square planar. Tetrahedron is sp3 hybridization, square planar is dsp2 hybridization. For octahedron, you have two kind of hybridizations. One is d2sp3 and the other one is sp3d2. So this is the table showing you about coordination number and the atomic orbitals utilized and the hybridized orbitals formed, and the geometry of the molecule is being shown, and the example of the coordination number is being given. So for coordination number 2, you have an example. For coordination number 3, you have the examples. For coordination number 4, the examples are given. So you can see the examples of different coordination numbers and their geometry and the hybridized orbitals and the atomic orbitals involved in the hybridization. Then next up you have inner orbital and outer orbital complexes. So inner orbital complexes are the one in which the complexes uses n-1d, ns and np orbitals. So in the postulates of VBT, I have mentioned you that d orbitals utilized for hybridization can be of two types. One is n-1d and the other one is nd orbitals. So the complexes which uses n-1d, ns and np orbitals for hybridization, then these complexes will come under inner orbital complexes. So such complexes are spin paired or low spin complexes. So the spins in these complexes will be paired. So whenever there is spin pairing, these complexes are also known as low spin complexes. So these complexes are usually formed by the strong field ligands like CO, Cn minus, NO2, etc. So these complexes are formed against Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. So Hund's rule is nothing but every orbital in a subshell is singly occupied with one electron before any one orbital is doubly occupied. So this particular inner orbital complexes are formed against to Hund's rules of maximum multiplicity. So coming to outer orbital complexes, these are the complexes in which the hybridization orbitals involved in hybridization are ns, np and nd. In the inner orbital complexes, n-1d orbitals were involved, but in outer orbital complexes, ns, np and nd orbitals are involved. So such complexes are high spin complexes, and mostly the ligands which are weak ligands, those ligands will try to form the outer orbital complexes, and examples of weak field ligands are F minus, Br minus, Cl minus, H2O, ammonia, etc. So ammonia has a peculiar property. Ammonia acts as a strong field ligands for cobalt complexes. So you need to remember that when you are dealing with VBT. Then these complexes are formed according to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. So the outer orbital complexes will follow the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, whereas inner orbital complexes will not follow the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Then this is the pictorial representation showing inner d orbital and outer d orbital. So the one which uses these set of orbitals, see, this is, I have taken n value as 4. So n minus 1 will be n minus 1d. This is n minus 1d. This is ns and this is np. So the value of n is 4. So 4p, 4s, and you substitute 4 minus 1 is 3. So 3d. So n minus 1d, ns and np, if these set of orbitals are used for hybridization, this will result into an inner orbital complex and low spin or spin paired complex. Suppose for example, if it uses n minus, if it uses ns, np and nd, like 4s, 4p and 4d. ns, np and nd. If this set of orbitals are used for hybridization, that would lead to an outer orbital complex or high spin or spin free complex. Then when strong field ligands like ammonia and cyanide are involved in the formation of complexes, they cause spin pairing electrons present in the metal ions. And this process is known as spin pairing. Whenever there are strong field ligands, there is a possibility of spin pairing. So this is all about valence bond theory.